So there you have it. That was Young Thug's attorney, Brian Steele, arguing with Judge Glanville and actually asking him to remove himself from the RICO trial. Just drama, drama, drama here. And joining me to discuss our trial attorneys, Bob Hilla and Lateef Gray. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Lateef, let's start with you here. What do you make of Judge Glanville's behavior towards Brian Steele? I mean, did Steele make any good points here?
I think Attorney Steele definitely made some good points. And the point that he's trying to make is twofold. Number one, I'm not trying to lose control of my client. And then if my client sees me being disrespected by a judge and just turns the other cheek, essentially, he might lose confidence in me. And also, as attorneys, our reputation, professional reputations, are very important to us. And if it looks like he's being disrespected in front of the jury and his peers, that could also be harmful to his professional reputation. So I applaud Attorney Steele for standing up for himself, and I've seen it done many times in court.
And here, Judge Glanville did deny the request to recuse himself, but Lateef, will he need to give the motion more thought once or if it is given to him in writing?
Well, if the motion is written and submitted, he will have to give it more thought. But ultimately, I don't see him recusing himself, because if he recuses himself, that's basically admitting that he's biased towards or against the defendant. So I don't see him ruling on the motion and recusing himself. But if it's written, then procedures mandate that he has to take it seriously and read it and make a valid ruling.
Lateef, do you see similar situations arising throughout the rest of the trial?
I definitely see situations like this arising throughout the rest of the trial. From what I understand, the prosecution has a witness list with over 400 witnesses. So apparently a lot of these witnesses are witnesses related to prior incidents from years past. So I definitely see this being a pattern where they bring up these old incidents, and there's vigorous direct examination as well as vigorous cross-examination related to these incidents.
Lateef, what are your thoughts?
Well, as far as this witness, he appears to be a very professional, trained witness. You could tell that he listens to the prosecutor's questions and then turns directly to address the jury. So he's a trained witness. He's very professionally trained, and he looks to be being effective with his testimony.
Well, Lateef, what do you make of the defense's conspiracy theory here?
Well, it appears like it may be a stretch, but they're subpoenaing these records to see what's there. And these records may be innocuous. And the issue may be that although there are records that are innocuous, the fact that people aren't being totally honest about their contacts create the appearance that there may be some impropriety. So it may be much to do about nothing, and maybe just the appearance of cover-up appears based on these officers not necessarily being as honest about their contacts as they should be.
I mean, who knew butt dialing could be such a hot topic of discussion here? But whether or not we will hear about these cell phone communications during Reed's April trial is yet to be determined. But do you think they will ever make their way into trial, Lateef?
Well, they may. And one of the issues is that anytime you have witnesses who are supposed to be honest at all times, and it turns out that they're not being honest and they're confronted with their own testimony and common sense evidence that just rebuts what they say, it's problematic. Now, these phone calls, like I said, may have been innocuous, but the fact that they're lying about having made these phone calls and having these communications is problematic, because it shows that they're not being honest as witnesses.
And with that in mind, my legal panel of trial attorneys Bob Hilla and Lateef Gray are back with me. What do you think should ultimately come from all of this? I mean, she was already found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, Lateef.
Well, it seems like the prosecution and the state want their pound of flesh out of this defendant. She's already been convicted, like you said, of conspiracy to commit murder. So she's going to get a lengthy prison term when she's sentenced. So if I'm her attorney, and I would ask that the state just dismiss it, and, you know, the judge admonish her not to do this again, which trial is over, so she won't have the opportunity to do it again. I would ask that the court dismiss it and that she be admonished not to do it again. and that we deal with her sentencing on the serious charge of conspiracy to commit murder.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Lateef. I mean, someone in the gallery saw the documents on the defendant's laptop. I mean, could this be a wider issue of how to keep all documents private during court proceedings like this?
Well, it could be, but I think the key issue here is that the report was sealed and the defendant wasn't supposed to have access to it. So if one of her attorneys who had access to the report is found to have willfully disclosed this report to her, then that attorney could be in some trouble, because that attorney essentially disregarded a court order, which as attorneys we know is a big no-no. So her attorneys could be in trouble if they're found to have, like I say, willfully disclosed this confidential report to the defendant.
Lateef, how is that part of it all problematic here?
Well, it's problematic because it's sealed, number one, and number two, in order to get records related to minors, there's a whole procedure you have to go through in court and file motions and do things like that. So if she had confidential information related to minors that was given to her by her attorneys in violation of a court order, that's very problematic.
Now, Lateef, do you see Michelle Troconis appealing anytime soon?
Well, she'll probably appeal her criminal conviction for the conspiracy to commit murder, absolutely. In most cases, when there's a conviction, they file usually a motion for new trial, and if that's denied, then they file appeal. So I definitely see her appealing her case.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We do need to sign off. Lateef Gray, thank you so much for joining us, Lateef. We hope to see you again very soon. Great insight and analysis.